Hello and welcome, my name is Kelly and this is my channel, Quilty Sidekick. Today what I'm going to do is go through and explain how I have made these pin keepers. They're actually magnetic pin keepers and that is 3D printed. I've done a few, I have done many trials, but I have actually found that having the curved bit here is actually a better design. So I'll show you exactly how to do that, how to put the magnet inside. And before we get started, what I am wanting to do is just let you know the types of magnets that I have used. So I bought this one. These are just from Mitre in New Zealand. They weren't very expensive. And if I get one out and do the measurements, there's 8 in a pack. So they're just single little magnets. Measurement, it is 18.2 in millimeters or 0.71 in inches. And then if I do it this way, it's 0.2 in inches and 5.1 in millimeters. Now, as we go through, I'm actually using 3 different lots of software. I'm using Affinity by Canva and Tinkercad and my 3D printers software, which is I'm using, my son has a Creality K2 Pro and I borrow it from time to time. Okay, so I'm starting with Affinity. If you haven't used Affinity yet, it's actually a free software and it is owned by Canva. This is where, so affinity.studio is where you will get it if you don't have it already, but I have it, and this tutorial is not about starting with Affinity. So just so you know, this is the software I'm using. I do not need to save this particular file once we're done with it. So I'm just going to open up a new, because I'm actually going to change the document units into inches because all the measurements I've been using are actually in inches. So that's the only change here. Just create any old document. And then on the left hand side you can see mine is actually opening up on the polygon tool. It should. The shape we're going to use is come down here and look at the cloud tool. So click on that one and on the shift key, and we want to make that about 3 inches. So you can sort of get it around that size. Click off the shape and then click on the top arrow icon, which is actually the move tool. So if we're clicking on that, now click on your shape, come over to the transform panel, and then just make it an exact 3 inches, and then tab out of that. Okay, that's your first shape. Let's make it a different color. So select that, and then just any color. It doesn't really matter. Just gray is a little bit harder to see. And then click on the shape tool again, and then what we're wanting now is the polygon, which is this one here. Now for this one, we'll just make that an inch size. So just get it as close as you can with your shift tool so we know it's actually square. On the move tool again, click on your shape and then just make that 1 and 1, tab. While you've got the polygon selected, come up to the sides and make it like 14. So while the magnets are round, I have seen a lot of 3D printers, they actually use a polygon rather than an actual circle to give it 14 sides, and it works well for me. So, and then just all we need to do is export these as SVG. So you can click on export SVG. Yours may not say that, it may say PNG at the beginning. So just click on the down arrow and you can see along the top, they're the most popular ones, obviously, JPEG, PNG or SVG. For Tinkercad, you actually need it to be an SVG. You can click here where it says if you've got a whole document selection area or selection only, just the selection only because you want them singular shapes. You don't want it sent to Canva. So yeah, and that you just want that sent to your Finder. And then just click on export. I'm just going to leave it called polygon because it's once we use it, it's fine. We're not really needing this after this. I'm going to click on this one, and then you can actually just press export SVG because it'll remember the last one that you just did, so it makes it a whole lot easier. Calling it cloud, and that's our shapes. That's all we need Affinity for, so we'll close that one down. Let me look that up. Just Google Tinkercad, you'll find it. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the top right hand corner for create, and I want a 3D design, so we'll open that up. Now what we need to do is obviously import those shapes we just made. So import, choose the file, and we want the cloud. Import. When it comes in, it's actually 2D, so it's not a 3D thing. Well, it sort of is a 3D because it gives it a little bit of height. If we look at the front, we can sort of see that there is some sort of height going on. And it has actually downloaded in millimeters. So the first thing I want to do is change the settings, and I want to change that to imperial just because I'm using inches at the moment. Okay, so my shape is really large at the moment and I have clicked on it. I'm actually going to click on the fit to view so I can see everything. And now I want to make it the correct, actually let's make it a different color because you know that color's not for me. Okay, so I made it a different color. Click on the squares here and it will show you that this has actually made it like 34 inches, but we only want it to be 3 inches. So that one, and then change this one to 3, enter, and it's made it a little bit smaller. So then move it over to your workspace and then we'll go fit to view again. I'm just going to click off it so I can see what's going on. Clicking on the home just to have a bit more of a view of what's going on. So the click on the shape. So we've got the shape here and the default shape is what we're on. We want to turn the quality up to max. And on the outer line, we don't want sharp, we want round, and my little head is in the way. And I'm actually going to turn that up. Let's just put it up to 1. Now go back to default and that will give us our thing back, our shape. That will give us our shape back. So click on it. Now we actually want 2 of these. So with the duplicate or the copy, click on copy, click on paste. Now we have 2. We actually want the smaller one to be 1.5. So 1.5 and then change the other one to 1.5. Okay. And now what we're wanting to do, let's have a front view. Now we want to change the height on these guys. So if we click on this red square, we want the hole to be 1 inch. And we want, click on the other one, we want this one to be 1.5. 1.5, enter. For the smaller one, that's actually the hole. So let's click on it and then turn it into a hole. Okay, so we've got those 2 ready. Now let's bring in our other shapes. So the other shape that we need is obviously the one we need to import for our little magnet. So here we go. So we're just importing, and once again, it's coming really quite big. So we'll just zoom out a little bit. Click on the corner again, and what this is actually 0.75. And the other one is also 0.75. And we'll just drag that over to our workspace again. Let's change the color. Something like that. You don't need to. Now we'll zoom in a little bit and we'll make this the correct size. Let's have a look front on. Okay, I've made it the correct width. The correct height would be the center square. Click on that. That is 0.23. That is just because of my magnets. So I've actually perfected the size of my magnet to the shape that is required for my pin keeper, or the height that I'm wanting this to be in my shape. If I click on the downward triangle and try and move it, then this size comes up and I want that to be 0.24. Enter. And if we come out and we move these 2 shapes together, you'll see that there's a slight amount of difference, or we'll be able to put a little bit of filament in between them with the layers of the machine, but we're not quite, well, there you can sort of see. Let's do a top view and then move them a little bit closer so we can actually see what's going on front. There we go. So you can sort of see there is a gap. So now we have 3 of our shapes. We actually need 1 more, and that one is actually used from the panel over here. It's the half sphere. Click on that one and drop that in as well. For this, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So let's zoom on in on here. We are wanting this to be 1 3/4 wide, which means it's 1.75. and 1.75. And then with the height, we're wanting that to be what it is, so half an inch. Okay, now let's make that a hole, just because that's a hole. I'll go home again. Now we need to mesh them all together. This one also is a hole, so let's make that a hole. So we're clicking on the shape and then the hole. We then put L, so click on L. We need to make sure that they're at the same height, and then we'll click L again, click center, click the other center, and then click the union. And then there you go. So each time we'll do it separate just to make sure it's all going to happen. So click on your shape. Actually, before we do that, we need to turn this over, otherwise it's not going to be right. So just do a 180 so we know it's straight. And then we're actually going to grab our shape and then grab our dome, that's what it's called, and do the same thing. L, we want it at the top. Then we want to center. And I think this is center. Yes, it is. I'm just actually, let's have a good look at that. So you can see the height of my magnet there. So that will be the next thing we add onto the pin keeper. But at the moment, we're just doing the dome for the top. So let's union that one. And let's put that top hole there. Click on our shape and then click on the magnet hole. L for centering everything. So we do not want to touch this because it's at the right height already. We've put it at the 0.24. Click on the center, click on the other center. Do not click on the height. And then we'll union that one as well. And that's our shape. So now all we need to do is actually export this as an STL, and then we can go over to our 3D printer software. So let's export STL. We'll go to that. So let's get rid of that one now, and let's pull up the Creality, and however you import your STL. So click on, for me, or in the Creality software, you just click on this little box, and then Tinkercad has named it this fantastic jar of biggery. Why not? I think I'm going to print it in that the minty green that I've got there. So it's just the one that's going to be there. The first thing you need to do is actually slice it. So click on slice. Actually, before you do that, just make sure that your magnet space is in there. So there we go. So it's in there, no problem. Now this pause was actually there from the last time that I made it. So I'm just going to double click on it to get rid of it. So we're on the sliced portion at the moment. We can have a little look in there. Yeah, so now what we need to do is just put that pause on. So we need to find out where the filament comes on top of that hole, and then pop in a pause before it gets that layer right there. Okay, you can use the up and down button just to get that exact spot. Now right click, add a pause, and it's ready to go. So now I can actually slice that again. Well, I can pop this back up. My pause stays there. Click on the slice of the plate. Now we're ready. Send the print. And I'm going to get this minty color. So start. And okay. I'll be back with the finished product. is finished. So I've actually got it out of my printer. You know how we changed the size on the hexagons to 14 sides? On all of the other ones, I actually changed to 8 like petals, and this one I didn't change. So it's really up to you if you want to change how many petals you have around. So this is the one that it comes with, and I actually change usually to the 8. But just so you know, super cute. Magnet's fine, and they work well. So this particular size is great for my T-pins or my normal pins. I don't like this in this colour for my pins because they're the same. Too matchy-matchy. Yellow's cute. Anyway, that's how you can create your own pin keeper. If you don't want to do that, and if you've watched this and you're like, oh, that's too hard, check out Maker World, and I think I'll add the STL up there so anyone can do it. And I'll actually add the 8 petal and then the large petal. The link will be in the description. Anyway, hope that was fun.